So it's a book, it's a workbook, but it's not your traditional, just writing all in it workbook. But it actually is an accompaniment to the online course. So when people sign up to the course, they get the book
Oh, wow.
as well.
So yeah.
So, and these courses, they're actually going to be ones, at least for the time being, that's an exclusive book. It's not available to the public. So it just sort of gives that extra something to the online course as well.
Mm.
So,
Yeah, there really are so many things you can use a book for in your business.
oh, there are. I mean, even just to be able to, I've done like LinkedIn posts where I will just give away a chapter of the book. So whatever that post is on, I will, have a PDF done up, and it's got the cover and everything. And people just get that chapter because that's something that's of interest to them and
Mm.
they need that at that point in time. So, you can actually
Yeah,
split it up and utilize it in lots of different ways. It's
yeah,
not just, the old fashioned print book, which, I do suggest everyone has as well. It's
mm,
not just digital because there's nothing like being with someone and being able to hand a copy of your book
yeah.
to
Do you
them.
think it gives a lot more authority when it's a print book?
I think in certain situations, definitely. And it helps you stand out to that, like, everybody knows nowadays you can just put it together a quick ebook.
Yeah,
Whereas if you've actually gone to the trouble of, you know, writing a 30,000 word book, having it all, laid out typeset, it does give you that. It just shows that you know your stuff.
mm,
People can see that you know your stuff. You value your own knowledge, and also you value other people's time. You're giving them a printed book. You've gone to that effort, and I'm a big believer in when you give someone a book and they're reading it, they're giving, even if you give it to them for free, they're giving you your time. They're giving you,
yeah,
you've you've got to value people's time. That's the one thing we really can't get back is time. And they're taking their time to read your book, to read your material. So I think it's up to every author to give them the best possible thing that they can give them and to
yeah,
value that
yeah,
resource that they're giving you.
I have a
yeah.
very fundamental, basic question.
Mm.
What is the difference between a self-published print book, a ebook, and a non-self-published or traditionally published book?
Okay, I'll do the traditionally published and the self-published first.
Okay.
So traditionally published, you'll go to someone like Penguin Random House. They'll say if they pick up your book, there can be a time frame of anywhere up to 2 years between you signing a contract and the book getting out there because things take a long time in traditional publishing. They will do everything for you, from the design, the cover design, having it edited, and they will cover all the costs of doing that. The downside is you will lose a degree of control. So you might not be 100% happy with the cover. You might have to do edits that you're not particularly happy with. And also, they own the rights to it. So if you're writing a business book, you've really got to look into what they own the rights to. Do they just own the rights to the print and the digital? Do they own the rights for the audio? Can you turn it into an online course? All those things. When you sell the book, you'll get paid a royalty. So just a small percentage of the book. Self-published is you do all of that. You're in complete control. You pay for everything. You can either do it all yourself. You can work with an editor and a designer. You can pick and choose what you want to do. You work with someone like us that can do everything for you. So then with self-publishing, you upload it. You can go to Amazon. We have a print-on-demand company here called Ingram Spark, who are pretty much there. I know they're in Canada. They're in the UK. There are about 5 locations around the world.
So
So
self-published can be an ebook, but it can also print a paper print.
print, you do self-published, traditional publishing. It can be the same. It'll be the same book as a print book and a digital book. The only difference is, how it arrives. Really,
And
yeah.
so And with all ebooks, like when you write a traditional book, or
Mm,
you're going for a
print book.
physical book, you have to register the ISBN
You do.
numbers.
So you register the ISBN. So it's different in every company, in every country. So here we just go to Fort Barker, and we just buy them. In New Zealand, you get them for free. I don't know what happens in other countries. Mostly you have to purchase them. I think New Zealand's one of those few countries that
Mm.
they very nicely hand them over for nothing. And we recommend you get them for your digital books as well. Amazon will give you one for free, but we generally recommend that you actually, when you buy your print book, you just buy a package of 10, and each different format of book will need an ISBN. So even if you've got a paperback and a hardback, the paperback will need an ISBN and the hardback will need an ISBN. Basically, it's just a way of tracking book sales.
Yeah, and it gets registered. Well, I know when I bought mine, I bought like a bundle of 6, I think it was,
Yeah,
ISBNs, but it was then registered like with the National Library.
yeah,
And
it's registered. And
yeah,
like here in Australia, if you print a print book, we've got to send it to the National Library, and we have to
yes,
send it to our state library as well. So somewhere deep in the cellars of the libraries, there are many,
yes,
many, many, many books that are gathering dust.
that's right, every book in the country. So
Mm.
when it comes to writing books, particularly entrepreneurs, what are the top mistakes that they make?
One of the big mistakes that we see often is they just pick up the pen and start to write without really taking the time to plan, and not just plan what they're going to write, but plan who they're writing for. And I think probably one of the easiest ways I can sort of explain what I mean is just to talk about one of our authors that we're still working with at the moment. He wrote a 70,000 word book. He's a doctor and an acupuncturist. And basically what he did is he wrote a book for everybody. He wrote a book for the patients, for people that he's going to train in his modality, and also for other doctors. So it was just ended up being a book that was for no one. So he just didn't take the time to plan who was actually going to pick up the book and read it and what they needed to know from his content. So what we've done with that is we've pulled it apart, and now he'll have 3 books. So one will be for the patient, one's for the doctor, and one's for the trainee. So it's really important to actually take the time and reflect on who you're writing for and what do they need, because it might be that you've got more than one book. It might be that you've got a series of books, or you've got one or two 2 books that might be similar, but they'll just have a slightly different slant on it, a slightly different, because if you're writing to other people who are in your industry, you can use jargon, they're going to understand it. But if you're writing just to your everyday person, then they're not going to be able to understand what you're talking about with your industry jargon. So it's just really, really important to take that time to actually work out who you're writing for and what they need.
Yeah, gosh, that's so important, isn't it? Because that's going to, especially a business book, that's going to remove that dryness.
And
If
it is,
you've
and
got that person in mind.
Yeah, and you really, even if you can narrow it down, you sort of think, oh, well, I'm not going wide enough. But you really need to just, even just picture one person, who you're writing this book for, what do they need? Because you're better off really targeting your real tribe than going for everybody and really reaching who you need to reach.
And then that'll help get really clear on the messaging.
And the other thing that we see is, as an entrepreneur, I'm a really big believer in, like I said before with the time thing and that you need to value your reader. You need to actually value their time, the effort that they're putting into going over, what you have to say. And so, that's, you need to produce, I'm not saying you have to spend a fortune, but you need to produce something that reflects you and your business. Because if you put something out there that looks shoddy and that, it's got a really basic cover, well, I mean, basic's fine, but, I've seen some pretty dodgy things out there. I know, as I was given this book by someone who I did respect. They had, very high up in the industry, quite well known. They hadn't even taken the time to edit it. And, there was mistakes in their formulas and things like that. And they lost my business because I just went, well, if you can't take the time to edit your work and check the figures that you've got in there with your calculations on how you're going to make this sort of, this money, then why are you going to give me that time? And why are you going to, look after me and my business when you can't do that in a book? So that for me, that's personally,
I think that's quite common though. The number of people that talk about, downloading books and they're full of typos because now, of course, anybody can upload a book and then they're full of typos. And people don't want to read them.
No, every book is going to have some typos. I mean, we work on books where, 5 or 6 editors have looked at it. And, once it's gone to print, we'll get reprint corrections. Pretty much happens on every book.
Yeah.
There will be some mistakes, doesn't matter how many. But when you've got consistent mistakes throughout, it's obvious that it hasn't been edited or proofread, then, I think that that's a really poor reflection on the entrepreneur. And, the other thing that, I hear a lot of with other people in my industry is just write a book. No one's going to read it. Well, I don't believe that. I think that if just writing a book for the sake of writing a book is A, wasting your time and B, wasting their time.
So why do you think they encourage entrepreneurs to do that? Because I've heard that too. And
I think people just, it's, you've got the thud value, that's all you need. Well, in some circumstances, maybe it is. But I still think that it doesn't do you any credibility. It doesn't, it just takes one person who was thinking of working with you, like I was thinking of working with this other person, to actually read what they've just written to have a book and go, no, I don't trust you anymore.
Yeah, it's really interesting, isn't it? Because people say, write a book, it's going to give you that authority. It's going to build your reputation. But if you get it wrong, then what have you put out there?
Yeah.
It's.
And for me, I mean, that's, you know what I'm like, Alison. I find that, I can't do that. I'm just not going to do that. And
no, but I don't think that, and I've struck this a number of times with entrepreneurs and small business owners, people have encouraged them to write a book or to write a chapter. It's not going to serve their business at all. And when they're not writers, they don't have a message to put out there, they're not adding value, it actually turns clients away from them.
It does. And, I know people that have spent tens of thousands of dollars on, these quick, 3-day workshops sort of things, writing a book. And they come away with this book and then they're not proud, they're not proud of it. You need to be able to actually feel confident that what you've written and what you've created is a reflection of you, a reflection of your business, and that you're proud to hand it over.
Yeah. Well, I was mentoring a woman a few years ago who had a real estate business, and I was helping her get set up, and accounts were a mess and this sort of thing. So I actually went to her office this day and said, I want to have a look. And she had this pile of books. And I was sort of, what are the books? She's not a writer at all. She's very no nonsense, what we'd call a rough diamond. Spade's a spade. And I was sort of, what's with the books? Oh, don't even talk about it. And I was sort of, what? She'd actually paid a fortune to do a chapter, and she'd been promised, you know, the earth and how much it was going to help her business. Have you heard of, well, obviously you've heard of them, where she had to pay to write this. She wrote this chapter, and it meant you can say you're an author and you've contributed to this, that, and the other. They then each had to buy, I think it was 1,000 books each, which buying, that meant there were like 10,000 or 12,000 books bought, which sent it up to bestseller. So they could then say, you know, I wrote in a bestseller,
Oh,
but it wasn't a bestseller at all.
that's incredible.
Yeah, it goes on all the time. You know, the number of people that say best-selling author, and Anne will tell you, it's semantics. You know, they're getting off on a technicality sort of thing. But this woman, and I was sort of, what are you going to do with the books? And she, like I said, she was a rough diamond. Well, it was just swear words, you know. There was nothing she could do. She didn't have courses like with my book. And it was, you know, it was well written and edited and all the rest of it. It had been picked up by a distributor and all that sort of thing, which was another story. But what I would do with that, like I was invited to speak, it was a paid job. And I said, I'm happy to speak. I'd like you to offer the book to your, you know, to your audience. So I sold 120 copies of the book, you know, at that speaking event.
Yeah.
Anybody that did my leadership course would get a copy, a signed copy of the book. I would also send it to industry leaders like bank managers and that sort of thing, you know, where I could go in and speak to their team about engagement. So it was like a lead magnet. So it had a real purpose. I didn't care what it was selling at Dymocks and, you know, the bookshops. It was in bookshops. It's still in bookshops. That was not at all lucrative. That was a real eye-opener to me. People think, oh, best-selling book, you know, you get all the money.
And that's another mistake that people will make, that they actually go into the book writing process and think that they're going to make their money from book sales.
Yes.
As an entrepreneur, you are not going to make a return on investment from book sales. It's just not going to happen.
No.
Unless, look, some people do, but the reality is, it just
someone said to me, you've got to be rich dad, poor dad.
Right.
You know, to come up with a book like that. To,
you do. But your return on investment comes from, you know, the speaking gigs, everything else that you do with your book, the credibility that it gives you. But I would be lying if I said that you're going to make that money from book sales, because it's not going to happen.
So what I'm thinking and what I'm trying to do is follow someone's, you know, advice, you know, someone who builds funnels, sells funnels for courses. And so his process is, you take one of your courses and you transcribe the lesson, the course, and then have someone edit it. So you just transcribe the raw files and edit it, like you could do it on Otter or Descript or something like that. And then have somebody edit it and organize it, turn this into an ebook that you sell for a minimal price, like $4 or $5, as a funnel to upsell courses and memberships and things like that. So it's not really a full, you know, I mean, it's probably like a 70-page book, you know. But what I was wondering is, would it make sense to do something like that and then develop that later into a full, legit, published book? You know, start with a sort of a...
if you're starting with that as a lead magnet, start with that. Get some ideas, get some, you know, build up your list and start from there. The thing with that is, you know, so that sort of thing, you know, it will become like just a training book. It's not really going to, I don't know your business to know exactly what is going to be in there, but people won't sort of necessarily get to know you through that. If it's, whereas, you know, if you do a more extended version, they'll get to know a little bit more about you, your, you know, who you are as a person, that sort of thing. but definitely, you know, there's no reason. There's no right and wrong with self-publishing as far as, you know, the order that you do things. You know, you can do this if it's an ebook and you don't like it in 6 months' time, you can pull it down and not
Yeah.
sell it anymore. You know, there's, you know, you've got lots of options. You're in complete control, really.
Yeah. Before you print it on paper, you have
Yeah,
at least
before
you
you
can do
put it on paper.
kind of a little bit of a test, you know.
Yeah. I've got on my Independent Ink website, I've got a free, just a free download of, it's just an ePDF, very, I can't even remember how many pages it is now. But it's just a free thing there as a lead magnet as well. So I've certainly done that. It works really well, and I know I should be doing more. And
Time, isn't it?
yes, I need more sleep than some people on this chat. Not mentioning any names, Alison.
Oh, Patricia.
Yeah.
Yes, well, your book was incredible. I mean, it's
What's the name?
is that the one that you've got an intro on your site? Are you saying, Anne?
There's, I've just got like a free download on Independent Ink, and there's, let me see, is it behind me?
I've just put Independent Ink.
Hang on, I don't even know. Isn't that terrible? Look, there's this one.
Yes, that's sitting here on my shelf too.
Cool.
It's
Awesome.
a fantastic book.
So that's probably, it's a lot longer than what we would generally encourage a lot of our authors to do now. I think mine's about just under 60,000 words. Generally, we say now around 30,000 words.
Really?
Yeah, it's just with business books now, people are only wanting that 2 to 3 hour flight when we could fly. I've got to stop saying that. That sort of, you know, something they can pick up, read and finish.
Yeah.
Because what you find now is, and I'm guilty of this, I have got about 5 books sitting beside my bed where I've read, you know, half, a third, and then I get stuck into another one. And so you want something that people can actually finish, you know, start and finish, and you can keep them, you know, engaged the whole way through. I think Dixie, my business partner, wrote one at the end of last year, and it's on the author journey, but she's written it more as a fable. It's like 25,000 words, but people are loving it because it's easy enough for them to digest. Whereas, and I'm sort of thinking with this one that I'm actually going, because it's got 3 parts, so it's sort of the before, during and after, that I'm going to pull it apart a bit and just turn it into 3 books as well. So I'll just rejig it a little bit and then have those available to, you know, for people just to buy whichever bits they want.
Yeah, and you've now made that book into a course, is that right?
That's right, yeah. So we've so on Indie Experts, we've got the first part of the course, which we say is like a 3-week course, but really you can do it in, you know, it's faster, as long as time as you want to. And that's all about the planning. So what you need to do before you even start writing, you know, how to actually think about the structure of your book, what you're putting in there, planning, you know, planning all the different chapters, the parts, what you're actually going to do. Because that's the other thing with, before you start to write, if you've actually planned who you're writing it for, why you're writing it, and what the structure is going to be, that makes the writing process so much easier, because you're actually, you know, you're not focusing on that 30,000 word or whatever it is that you've, you know, that magic number. You can just focus on the one chapter. I'm going to write a chapter on editing today. Yeah. And that's all you're doing. And you can, you know, you've actually got a plan to go by. You're not actually just winging it and then putting it all together afterwards, because otherwise you can find that if you just sort of do a big brain dump of everything that you've got, then you've got to spend all that time actually sort of putting it together and working out what goes where and all of that sort of thing, loose flow. But if you start with a really good plan, then you know what you're doing. And the other thing is, you know, you don't have to start, you know, if you've got your chapters all laid out, you don't have to write them in that order. You might not, you know, you might leave the chapter that you're going to find really dull till the
Yeah.
last thing. You've really got, or, you know, you might have one really hard chapter that
Yeah.
you're just not sure of. Leave that till the end, till you've actually gone into the, you know, you're in the flow of writing and you get there, because that chapter is going to be a lot more easier if you're in that flow of writing as opposed to starting it. But
yeah, that's what I'm struggling with. I'm struggling with some chapters like, oh, you know, they are supposed to be the next one to write, but I don't really feel like writing it right now.
don't.
Another one. So, but how do you organize? And some of them I'm thinking, okay, no, that one should go at the beginning, not at the end. I'm just thinking, how do you organize your chapters, you know, and they have to flow, they have to have a sequence that makes sense, right?
Yes, you
Yeah.
do. And a lot of that, it honestly, well, it depends on how you, like with Dixie and I, we actually just get a big whiteboard out and we actually sit there and we brainstorm the whole thing with our authors. You know, you might pen and paper,
Okay.
mind map things on computers, whatever works for you. But it is a matter of, you know, it will really, really help if you can nut that out. You know, what is your client journey? How do you, you know, what process do you take them on that journey? It might be something like that, or it might be completely different.
Yeah, I didn't think of putting on a whiteboard because I'm trying to do it on Google Drive documents, you know, and it's just.
I'm a real visual person.
Yeah.
I have to have it.
Yeah, I struggle with the pages, you know, so then I try to do on a Google Slides, because then you can move the slides, but there's not enough room on the slides to write whole chapters.
Go back to the old-fashioned way, pen, paper, Post-it notes. And
oh yeah, Post-its, yeah.
And just write down all the chapters. Write them all your ideas, everything. Even just start with a huge, big dump of ideas.
Yeah.
And then put all the ideas together into, okay, these three things go to this chapter, these three things go to this chapter. Do that, and then take it from there, and then go, okay, this goes first, this goes first, this goes, yeah.
And I might just share your freebie, your special.
Yeah, I do.
Available in March, so it's about to run out tomorrow. I signed up.
I will extend it, so yeah.
Yeah, so Anne has this, it's fabulous before you write. I was doing it during the night, I must say. It's really good. It's actually motivated me to get working. But if you put in that code, you get it for free.
Yeah, and we will be extending it, so don't worry.
Yeah. So I'll put that in the Facebook group too, and in the email. So I'll tell them that.
Yeah, great. Yeah. And that will really help you just go through those ideas in your head and actually plan it. And honestly, you do not have to write in the order of your chapters. I never did. I knew what I was writing and where it was going, but I literally would. I'm like that though. I will just wake up and go, okay, this is what I feel like writing today, and that's what I do.
Yeah, I find too, if I hit the wall, even with like blogs and that, I'll go and I'll cook or I'll clean, and then suddenly I'll think.
I walk.
Yeah.
I walk the dog, and I don't have any. I used to listen to podcasts or music. Now it's just me and the dog and this.
So you don't listen. That's a good idea.
No, I don't listen to anything.
See,
because that's when. So I usually will. We leave here about 5:30 a.m. and I'll get back, and for things like when I'm writing posts and that sort of thing, then I write as soon as I get back in the door. And sometimes if I've got my phone with me, I might record some things, just ideas. But that works for me.
On my phone, and I now have an Apple Watch, so I'm like Inspector Gadget, but I can't use it. I'm like a kid Inspector Gadget. So it's quite hilarious. I'm walking around Spotlight with my daughter and my watch starts ringing. And I'm, hello. Like some crazy beast. But I've got Otter on my phone. And so I'll often do things like in the silence. And one of my kids is sort of, because I love music, normally I'll play. Why aren't you playing music? I'm trying to sort out the mess in my head. And then sometimes I'll get a good idea, so I'll just hit Otter on my phone, and record it.
Yeah.
But once I've got Otter sorted out on my wrist, I'll be, as I'm walking, but I'll walk the dog. But it's just so interesting to me, that because I think most of us hit overwhelm very, very quickly when it comes to writing a book.
Oh,
Somebody like you who's actually sorted out the process for us. When I published my first book, and it was picked up by distributors and it's in all the bookstores. Quite a funny story. James. So Anne knows my eldest son. He actually was on a very early date with a girl who he's since married. And they went off to a bookshop she needed to buy some books. She's a teacher. And he looks up and he goes, "Oh, that's my mum." at the bookshop. And wow. So, but they actually offered me like a 3-book deal, these distributors. There was zero money in it. Like, I was so shocked. They take like 90%, 95%.
Wow.
And you've got to pay for storage, and you've got to pay for this. And each time I went, it wasn't like this burning story inside of me. It was, "We'd like you to write another one." I just hit overwhelm. And in the end, I said, "I don't want it." Because I
and
thought
it's so easy to hit overwhelm. And I think even more than ever nowadays with, because we've got this online world, we've got everything, we've got our life away from work.
So yeah, it's just so funny.
So, and when people have done, so I mean, I've done, other courses with people that we both know here, the Writing Center and things. Still haven't written the book because I'm just so busy. And I think it's, even when I look at their courses, it's too complicated. So I just put it in the too hard basket and I go and create something else for members or a course. But I know the way that you work, so I know that it will be like entrepreneur friendly. So when people have done this this smaller course with you, which you've got on special at the moment, what happens then? What do you do?
So what we do then is there are multiple choices. There is the next stage, which is the next online course, which people can do like over a year, which actually takes them through all the different stages. So they've done the planning. We go a bit deeper into that sort of planning, doing the structure of the book, taking them through the writing, the editing, the production, and then everything afterwards. So there's that. We're also in the process of finalising where you can do the online component, but then get us as well. So it's the pretty much the online course, but then you'll have done with you. So you'll get your one-on-one, once a month, a one-on-one with one of us. There'll be, group sessions like this. There'll be, different things. So we're pretty much be launching that before the end of our financial year is June. So sort of around then. And then we have a lot of other people that just decide they do the planning and then they just work one-on-one with us, and we basically coach them through the whole process and do everything. And so
you've already got that up and running.
Oh, that's where that's our core business. That's primarily what we do. That's, we love doing that, working, because funnily enough, like I don't do the coaching. That's Dixie's role. She does all the coaching. And as she says, it's not just about helping people get that idea and that content out of their head. It's, there's a lot of life coaching in there as well, because, part of, certainly in Australia, we have what we call the imposter syndrome. We, can overthink things. What are people going to think? Who am I to say this? Why am I this expert? So there's a lot of that. We work weekly with our authors. So they tell us how much they can write. If they can write a chapter a week, they do that. If they can write a part of a chapter, then they do that. Yeah. They get homework. They have to send it back in. We review it. We give them, feedback, and basically keep people on track. And, you know, we go, right, well, what's your time schedule? When do you want to have this written by? And we do that. So that's our core love of what we do. And then, you know, it is like, you know, everyone says it's like birthing a baby, but, you know, we're sort of really on that process of taking it all the way through.
I've actually heard that expression, birth a book.
Yeah.
And how long does that usually take, Anne?
We allow a year.
Yeah.
But that's generally most of our authors will have the book written 3 to 4 months. Then we go through the production process, and usually anywhere from 6, 7, 8 months we'll have the book out and published, and then the next whatever months left in that year are, you know, helping with the social media, the blog posts, you know, we pull out content. So as we're working with our authors, we'll also, you know, pull out content that we think we're going to use. We help our authors get up onto eSpeakers, which is an international speaking online platform where corporations can go looking for speakers. But basically, you know, we individualize it all. It's just every author is different, whatever they need. So generally, it's a year's process. That's how we sort of divided all the costs up over a year.
Yeah.
And we're led by our people. It's just whatever they can do.
Yeah, fantastic. Great. Anybody have any questions for Anne?
So it takes about a year altogether. Do you work with the US or mostly it's Australia or?
We're mostly Australia. We've had UK, Germany, a lot of people from New Zealand. My business partner's from New Zealand, so we sort of do. We've had a couple of US authors, but mostly we're over this way, but certainly something we can do.
Yeah, does it matter where somebody's located for you to work with them?
No.
No, it's such a global world now, isn't it?
No, we sort of, we're either, you know, we're doing early in the morning or, you know, late in the evening, or, you know, evening sort of thing, and vice versa, depending on where it is and what the time difference is.
Yeah, I find America much easier than the UK when it comes to
UK can be tricky, certainly sometimes with the the daylight savings things and that sort of thing. It will be,
they really are.
Yeah.
You know, like even if you get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, they're at 9 o'clock there.
Yeah, usually we'd be doing
8 o'clock.
It'd be like 8, 9 o'clock in the morning over there, and we do sort of 6, 7 p.m. here. So it makes it long days, but I mean, it's doable. You wouldn't do too many at the same time. And that's the other thing, when we're working one-on-one, we only take on so many people. To
do that.
You know, we reach capacity, and we just have to say, you know, no, it's not, you know, it's not fair on our authors, and it's not fair on, you know, we have to be able to offer.
Yeah. Fantastic. Any other questions? It's so good. We'll put a post in the Facebook group because I'm sure there'll be more. I'm sure I'll start, you know, in an hour. We think should have asked that.
Just ask any questions in the, you know.
Yes, one of the questions that I did wonder, so do you help with like the cover and the graphic?
We do, help with the cover. We take, we get our authors to do a design brief, tell us what they like, what they hate. And, you know, when you're doing your cover, actually figuring out what you really don't like can be more helpful than working out what you like. When you're working with a designer. If you are working with a designer, it's really good to give them as detailed a brief as you possibly can. Just saying, oh, whatever you think can be really overwhelming to the designer as well, and they'll just put it in the too hard basket till they have to do it. So being as detailed as you can, and that can just be going into a bookstore and taking photos, or going online and looking what stands out.
Now everything's online, you know. You go onto Amazon, you've got all the I know with because the editor that I used didn't have anything like you have, and so she was sort of, you know, these are the dimensions you need to give me of the design. I didn't have a clue.
Yeah.
Like I truly did not have a clue. So I ended up going to 99 Designs and basically running a competition because I just had no idea and said, these are my colors, here's my face, you know, I'm
Yeah.
doing a leadership book. It was a very messy way of doing it because I got some terrible, terrible design, you know, because there'd been no guidance and nobody said, okay, give them a brief or, so I got some that looked like, you know, science fiction and,
Yeah.
you know,
I think
like,
we give our authors an actual, you know, we give them a form to fill out, so they've got ideas to,
yeah,
you know, to go on. Okay, you know, this
which
you
is
know,
so helpful because
yeah.
it doesn't sound like much, the cover, but gee, it can make a difference. I was just,
Oh, it makes a huge difference. It is, you know, the reality is we do judge a book by its cover, and
that's right. That's
that's
exactly right. It's,
so
yeah, so that took me a long time. So it's
yeah.
great.
And you know, you might want to go with elements of your brand design. You know, some of our authors go heavily on their brand design. Others have done that, and um, we just helped Adam Houlihan relaunch
Oh,
his,
yes.
relaunch his book. So we've still got colours, they're the same, but it's taken a lot of his actual branding off it.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
you know,
Adam is a LinkedIn expert. I don't know
yeah,
if you know him, Adam Houlihan. He's I mean, he's a true LinkedIn expert, isn't
yeah,
he?
he
He's
knows his
very
stuff.
well known. Yeah.
So, you know, it's you know, and once again, that's you know, that's very much a personal choice on what you want. You know,
Yeah.
your book might just be, you know, completely your brand, or it might be something that you also want to be able to stand out on its own. So you might want to actually build your personal brand as well as your business brand.
Yeah.
So
I'm just wondering, what do you think should one budget in terms of getting a book published? You know, including the coaching and, you know, the editing and the book cover and then the actual publishing. What would you think that is a good bracket?
oh, it's a bit like how long's a piece of string, that one. So I know if we're working with someone from they haven't started even thinking about it all the way through to having it published and then the marketing afterwards. You're in America, aren't you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I think I'm just thinking, what's the exchange rate nowadays? It's basically we do around between $18,000 to $20,000 from all the way through. But that's Australian dollars, so I think you halve that. But I'm not sure what the
It's about 30%, I think.
Yeah.
yeah.
That's
But that's the whole, you know, hand holding.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then we work with other people where they've actually written the book. We just, you know, help them with the production side of things, and that's all they want. So then that's a pure quoting because, you know, we can work with some people we've worked with some authors that English isn't their first language, so it requires a lot more editing. Other people, you know, their writing is brilliant, and we, you know, so that's all. We just quote on that. Can be.
And what about your online course?
So the online course, so we've got the free one, and then the other one that takes you all the way through is $99 a month, and so that's Australian dollars. And then after that, so the one that we're in the process of doing where you do the online course and then you have working with us, that will be we haven't exactly finalised the figure, but it's around about the $5,000. But you'll get us as well, but it's not the complete weekly one-on-one.
Yeah. So the $99 a month one is now up and running?
That's now up and running.
Okay. That's good to know.
Mm-hmm.
So that it just takes you.
And that one takes you through the steps of writing.
Takes you through the steps and, you know, what's involved, what to look at, you know, even once you've written, you know, what to look for an editor, the different, you know, the different stages of editing, what the difference between a copy edit is and a structural edit, and what to look for, how to work with an editor, all those things. Takes you all through that, right through to, how you actually upload your book, what you do with it,
Yeah.
how you get it out there, different ideas on the marketing.
Is it on your website, the membership?
The indie experts, I'll get Alison to pop it all in
Yes.
there.
I've put that in the chat, Patricia.
Oh, I see. Okay,
And
yeah.
if you use that code, you get.
Oh,
the first
I already got that, but I'm interested in the membership.
Yes,
Right.
well, if you,
I'll
find
get
it and
I'll get all those details to Alison and send them all out to you.
yes,
All right.
and we'll put them in the Facebook page, and we'll put them in the
Awesome.
portal under this recording.
Yeah.
My Zoom dropped a bit at the beginning, so the first little bit at the beginning is chopped, but the rest of it, I
Yeah,
hope
it's
the Zoom plays nice. But I'll put all of it in both the. But that looks really good, and $99. That's a great deal for you, Patricia.
yeah. So I was just laughing. Frances and I were laughing because we were hiking this morning, and she says every time we hike, she asks me about the book, and I said this morning, well, I think I'm about to commit suicide.
Well, there you
Next thing
go.
you can have is an accountability buddy. Keep
Sorry,
you
what?
on track. And have a buddy that's going to keep you on track.
Yeah, well, she's kicking my butt once in a while.
Yeah, good.
I think you
Well,
find the-
maybe yes.
What?
I think you find the right coach.
So, are you writing a book, Francois, or just?
No, I'm not. I can barely write an email.
No, she
I
will
don't
someday. She will someday. She's gonna write her recipes.
But it's nice
Is
to
it
The
hear
called
that.
manuscript mastery, Anne?
Yes.
I like that. That's okay.
Are you, Francois, are you a chef?
I'm not a chef. I'm an esthetician. I do
Oh,
facials.
are you?
Oh,
Why are you so far away?
I know you're missing out. She's the
I
best on the planet.
am.
She's the best on the planet. I know.
Well, I'm
Thank
coming
you.
to visit Patricia at some stage, so we must get together, Francois.
Mhm.
We're now in lockdown, so I had to even cancel my eyelashes.
Oh, really? You're in
Yes,
lockdown again?
lockdown, complete lockdown.
Hmm.
Yes, can't go anywhere, can't see
Okay.
anyone. There is that link there, Patricia.
Okay, great.
thank you.
It's manuscript mastery. So there you go. Well, that was great. Any other questions, Fran? No.
Well, if you think of anything, honestly, just put them in the, and I'm happy to answer any questions. No drama at all.
Great. That was so good. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Alison.
Anytime. Look forward to it. Great to see you, ladies.
All right. See you later.
Take
Bye.
care. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Thanks, Anne. Okay, they've gone. Let me stop record.